Bukayo Saka, one of the Premier League's brightest young stars, and one of the most debated players in world football. Some fans say he's already world-class, a complete winger with elite numbers and consistency. Others argue he's good, yes, but not quite on that top tier yet, and that England hype pushes his reputation higher than it should be. So today we're asking the real question. Is Bukayo Saka truly world-class? Or is he just a very good player who gets exaggerated by English media and Premier League fans? We're breaking down the stats, the big game performances, the weaknesses, and how he compares to the best wingers on the planet. Let's dive in.
When people call Bukayo Saka world-class, it isn't just blind fan love or Premier League hype. There's real substance behind it. One of the biggest arguments in his favor is how productive he's been at such a young age. Before turning 24, Saka had already surpassed 100 Premier League goal involvements, a milestone only a handful of players have reached faster. The names usually mentioned alongside him are Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, and Michael Owen, players who became global stars. To hit that level of output this early isn't normal. It's the kind of trajectory associated with genuinely elite footballers. But what separates Saka even more is that he isn't just producing goals, he's creating them too. In the 2024-25 season, he finished with 10 assists in the Premier League, and only one Premier League player created more big chances than him. That means he wasn't just Arsenal's most dangerous outlet, he was statistically one of the most productive creators in all of world football. And that's important, because it shows that even when he isn't finishing moves, he's the one starting them, shaping them, and driving his team forward. This blend of scoring and creating carries over to the international stage as well. For England, Saka has grown into one of their most influential players. His recent solo goal against Serbia made him the highest-scoring England international ever to come out of Arsenal's academy, a sign of how consistently he delivers for both club and country. A lot of young attackers shine only in one environment, but Saka has managed to maintain a high level regardless of whether he's wearing red or white. Another reason many rate him so highly is his versatility. Saka doesn't rely on one signature move or one predictable pattern of play. He can beat defenders on the dribble, cut inside and finish, build attacks through combination play, or drop deep to create chances. Managers value players who can solve problems in different ways, and defenders hate the ones they can't easily predict. Saka falls into that rare category of attackers who can adapt to what the game needs, not just what they prefer. And what makes this even more impressive is that Arsenal have not always been flawless around him. There have been stretches where the team lacked a reliable striker, or where injuries forced Arteta to rely heavily on Saka as the main creative engine. Yet he continues to produce. When the system breaks down, or when Arsenal struggle to control games, Saka often becomes the difference maker. That's not the hallmark of a good player. That's the hallmark of a player who operates at a higher level, even when the environment isn't perfect. Put all of this together, the early milestones, the elite creativity, the contributions for England, the adaptability, and the consistency despite team issues, and you begin to understand why so many people already view him as world-class. Whether someone thinks he has fully arrived or is still refining his final form, the foundation is undeniably strong. The evidence doesn't just suggest potential, it suggests a player who is already operating among the very best in his position.
For all the praise and all the numbers that support Bukayo Saka's rise, there's still a significant group of fans and analysts who hesitate to place him among the truly world-class players. And their reasons aren't built on hate. Many of them come from looking at the same evidence and drawing a different conclusion. The first major criticism is consistency. While Saka's peak level can be exceptional, his form across entire seasons hasn't always stayed at that elite standard. In the early stages of the 2025-26 Premier League season, for example, he recorded just 3 goals and 1 assist in his first 11 games. For a player often mentioned alongside the likes of Vinícius Jr., Michael Olise, or Salah, players known for sustained high output, those stretches of quieter performances fuel the argument that Saka isn't quite on that top tier yet. This leads into another point critics raise: finishing. Saka is undeniably a fantastic creator, but when it comes to pure goal-scoring instincts, some believe he doesn't yet match the best wingers and wide forwards in world football. his shooting efficiency fluctuates, and there are long spells where he relies more on chance creation than decisive finishing. For people who define world-class as the ability to consistently take over matches the way the very best attackers do, that inconsistency in end product weakens his claim. There's also the issue of physical strain and availability. Saka has carried a huge workload under Arteta, sometimes playing through knocks, heavy tackles, and minor injuries. While this speaks to his toughness, it also affects his explosiveness and form. When a player becomes the system rather than part of the system, dips are inevitable. This has led some supporters and pundits to argue that his numbers sometimes reflect overuse more than world-class superiority, that he is simply tasked with doing everything because Arsenal lack consistent attacking support. In other words, good players can appear great when the entire structure depends on them. Another factor critics point to is the England and Premier League hype cycle. The English media has always had a habit of elevating homegrown talents quickly, sometimes too quickly. Some fans outside England feel Saka benefits from this spotlight, with every good performance amplified and every bad one explained away. When he struggles, the narrative often shifts to excuses about fatigue, fouls, or system issues, rather than holding him to the same harsh standards global world-class players face. This selective protection makes some people doubt whether his reputation is fully earned or partly inflated by an English football culture desperate for a superstar. On top of that, when you look at world-class status historically, the definition usually includes dominating big stages, Champions League knockout rounds, major international tournaments, title-deciding matches. Critics argue that Saka hasn't yet had his defining moment on those grand stages. He has been good, even important, but he hasn't consistently produced the kind of performances that shift narratives on a global level. Taken together, these criticisms form a coherent argument that Saka is brilliant, highly talented, and potentially world-class, but not undeniably there yet. He has flashes of being elite, but hasn't sustained that level across full seasons, big competitions, or the highest pressure moments. For these fans and analysts, the talent is clear. The status, however, still needs more proof.
To judge where Bukayo Saka truly stands, you have to place him next to the players operating in the same role, the wingers who define the modern game and shape what world-class actually looks like. This is where the debate gets interesting, because depending on which winger you compare him to, Saka can look either very close to the top tier or just slightly below it. Take Vinícius Jr., for example, the prototype of the world-class winger in today's game. Vinícius brings raw pace, explosive dribbling, and the kind of 1v1 destruction that can completely reorganize a defense. Compared to him, Saka is more controlled, more methodical, and less reliant on chaos. He doesn't have Vinícius's sheer physical dominance, and that's one reason some fans hesitate to put them on the same level. Vinícius can blow games open on his own. Saka is more often the player who builds the attack rather than detonates it. Then there's Mohamed Salah, the model of consistency. Salah's greatest strength isn't just talent, it's his ability to deliver elite numbers every season, regardless of form, system, or era. This is the standard Saka is measured against. While Saka matches Salah in creativity and overall contribution, he hasn't yet reached Salah's level of sustained, elite finishing. This is where critics point to the difference. Salah is a decisive moment player, whereas Saka is a complete influence player. But when you switch the comparison to players like Jermaine Doku, the picture changes again. Doku is electric, pure dribbling chaos, but his end product can fluctuate wildly. Saka may not be as visually explosive, but he is far more consistent, far more efficient, and far more tactically reliable. Doku can terrify defenders for 90 minutes. Saka can decide matches through intelligence and structure. Different strengths, but Saka's balance makes him the more complete winger. Cole Palmer offers another interesting contrast. Palmer has emerged as one of the Premier League's most technically gifted attackers, capable of creating something out of nothing. But Palmer's game is built on freedom, drifting inside, picking pockets of space, operating like a number 10 from the wing. Saka, on the other hand, plays a far more demanding, disciplined role. He stretches defenses, tracks fullbacks, builds combinations, and still produces elite output. Where Palmer excels in moments of magic, Saka excels in consistency and responsibility. That consistency is what often gives Saka the edge in long-term comparisons. These comparisons reveal something important. Saka is not inferior in talent, but different in profile. He may not have Vinícius's explosiveness, Doku's dribbling chaos, or Palmer's improvisational flair, but he has something just as valuable: consistency, intelligence, maturity, and elite decision-making. He doesn't disappear across seasons, he rarely makes poor choices, and he carries a level of responsibility most wingers his age never have to manage. In short, among the elite wingers, Saka doesn't look out of place. He isn't the flashiest, he isn't the most explosive, and he isn't the most individually dominant, but he is arguably the most complete. The only gap that until he delivers those defining Champions League or tournament-changing moments, some fans will continue to place him just below the absolute top tier. But the truth is simple: he's close, very close, and the next chapter of his career will determine whether he joins the elite group or stays just outside it.
So, after all the arguments, comparisons, and contradictions, where does Bukayo Saka truly stand? The answer isn't as dramatic as the media wants it to be, but it's far more interesting. Because Saka sits in that rare space between undeniable elite quality and unfinished potential. He's not a fraud propped up by English media, but he's also not yet at that untouchable level where names like Vinícius Jr. or peak Salah live. And that's okay, because the truth is that Saka is still climbing. Right now, he represents the modern definition of world class, a player who performs at a top level every year, delivers big numbers in a top league, and carries huge responsibility for both club and country. Few 24-year-olds in Europe are asked to produce as consistently as he is. His reliability, his productivity, and his resilience put him in that top bracket of wingers, competing with players like Nico Williams, Cole Palmer, and even future stars like Olise. He's already among the best in his age group. That part isn't even debate. But the reason the conversation feels so heated is because some fans expect certainty. They want Saka to either be a generational superstar or a media creation with nothing in between. And Saka doesn't fit those extremes. His impact is huge, but his ceiling hasn't fully opened yet. His numbers are impressive, but he hasn't had that Champions League moment. He performs for England, but the national team environment hasn't helped him the way other countries elevate their stars. He's elite, but not yet undeniable. In reality, the best way to describe him is this: Saka is world-class in consistency, but not yet world-class in legacy. He's a top-tier winger who still has another step to make, the step into superstardom. And that final step won't be built on hype, marketing, or Premier League narratives. It'll be built on moments, Champions League knockouts, tournaments for England, title-defining performances. And the scary thing for his critics, and the exciting thing for his supporters, is that he's still only 24. If this is the foundation, imagine what the peak looks like. So is Bukayo Saka world-class? Right now, he's right on the edge. More than hype, less than finished. A rising elite talent who's still writing the story the world wants to judge too early.
So that's the real picture. Not the hype, not the agenda, just the truth behind where Bukayo Saka actually stands in world football right now. But at the end of the day, this is a debate that you helped shape. So tell me in the comments, is Saka already world class, or does he still have one more level to reach? I want to hear your take. Don't hold back. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. More football stories, more debates, more truth coming soon. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.